Most people think public administration means government offices, files, clerks, and slow bureaucracy. That's too narrow. Public administration is the complete system that turns government decisions into real-life action. In simple words, it is how a state takes a promise, a law, a budget, or a policy, and delivers it to people. Think about something simple. You apply for a passport, you renew a driving license, you visit a public hospital, you pay a tax, you complain about a broken road, you receive a government scholarship, you use public transport. Most of the time, you don't even realize it. But you are already interacting with public administration, because behind every government service, there is a system. Not just the minister, not just the law, not just the office, not just the website. The full connection between people, rules, institutions, money, data, and decision-making. That is public administration. And sometimes, even in daily life, we apply the same concepts without knowing it. For example, when you organize a family event, you divide responsibilities, manage budget, assign people, set deadlines, solve problems, and make sure everything happens on time. That is not government, but the concept is similar. Planning, coordination, leadership, resource management, accountability, execution. These are the same ideas that public administration uses, but at the level of cities, provinces, countries, and millions of citizens. Now think about a government launching a new healthcare program. First, politicians announce the policy. Then budget is allocated, departments are assigned, hospitals are informed, doctors and staff are hired, medicines are purchased, data is collected, citizens are registered, reports are prepared, problems are reviewed. This whole process is public administration, not just the announcement. The real work starts after the speech ends. Because a policy written on paper means nothing if nobody can implement it properly. That is the main idea. Public administration is not about sitting in an office and stamping papers. It is about how governments organize people, money, rules, institutions, and services to solve public problems. For example, when a city manages traffic, that is public administration. When a government distributes flood relief, that is public administration. When a country collects taxes and builds roads, that is public administration. When a public school system hires teachers, manages exams, and provides education, that is public administration. When a police department maintains law and order, that is public administration. When a public hospital decides how many doctors, medicines, and emergency services are needed, that is public administration. But here's the catch. A government can have big promises, huge budgets, and beautiful policy documents, and still fail. Why? Because the real test is not the announcement. The real test is implementation. If the right money does not reach the right department, if the right people are not trained, if corruption enters the system, if data is wrong, if departments don't coordinate, if citizens don't trust the government, then the policy fails, even if the idea was good. That is why public administration sits between politics and people. Politicians make promises. Administrators turn those promises into services. Citizens judge the result. This is where bureaucracy comes in. Most people use the word bureaucracy as an insult. They think it means delay, paperwork, and useless rules. And honestly, sometimes they are right. But bureaucracy also exists for a reason. A country cannot run only on emotions, speeches, or personal decisions. It needs records, it needs rules, it needs departments, it needs procedures, it needs accountability. It needs trained officials. Without administration, government becomes chaos. But with bad administration, government becomes a burden. That's why this subject matters. Public administration explains why some governments deliver clean water, good roads, safety, healthcare, and education, while others struggle with corruption, delays, weak institutions, and broken services. It also explains why some countries respond better during crises. During floods, pandemics, wars, economic shocks, or refugee crises, the difference is not only money. The real difference is administrative capacity. Can the government collect data quickly? Can it coordinate departments? Can it move resources? Can it communicate clearly? Can it deliver help before it is too late? That is public administration in action, and public policy is closely connected to it. Public policy is about what government decides to do. Public administration is about how that decision is actually carried out. For example, if a government decides to reduce unemployment, that is policy. But designing job programs, opening training centers, selecting applicants, distributing funds, tracking results, and measuring success, that is administration. So if policy is the plan, administration is the execution, and execution is where most governments either prove themselves or expose their weakness. In this playlist, we will not study public administration like a boring textbook. We will understand how governments actually work. We will explore bureaucracy, civil service, public policy, budgeting, corruption, public service delivery, crisis management, welfare, regulation, governance, local government, digital government, and AI in public administration. We will also study real case studies, how Singapore built efficient governance, how Estonia became a digital government model, how the UK NHS faces pressure, how Pakistan struggles with governance reform, how COVID-19 exposed the strengths and weaknesses of different states, and how AI is now changing the future of public decision-making. Because public administration was not created by one single person, it developed through the work of thinkers like Woodrow Wilson, who argued that administration should be studied seriously, Max Weber, who explained bureaucracy, Frederick Taylor, who focused on efficiency, and later thinkers who studied public policy, governance, management, and institutional reform. So this subject is really a combination of politics, management, law, economics, sociology, ethics, and leadership. And here is the brutal truth. A weak government is not always weak because it has no resources. Sometimes it is weak because it cannot organize those resources. It cannot plan properly. It cannot implement honestly. It cannot coordinate departments. It cannot measure results. It cannot serve citizens fairly. That is why public administration matters. Because modern countries do not run only on flags, speeches, or elections. They run on institutions. They run on systems. They run on people who can turn decisions into results. At the Learning Studio, the goal is simple: to help you see the invisible machinery behind every government. Because once you understand public administration, you stop seeing government as just politicians and offices and start seeing it as a massive system of policies, people, rules, budgets, institutions, power, and public service working together, or sometimes failing together.